I'm live. Yo, um, this is like a big leap for me. Like, I'm nervous, and I'm scared, but I'll get over that. But the reason why I'm doing this is because life experiences has really brought me a long way. Life experiences has really taught me a lot. Life experiences has really brought me out of my shell. And it's made me the man that I am now. The next thing, as a black man and an Afro American man, my experiences in America are different from my white brothers. And I think it is important to talk along those lines um, in an effort to reach other young brothers. For those who may say I'm being racist and why does it have to be about black and white, my retort is the minute slavery and Jim Crow was implemented, it was made about black and white, not about us, but those who implemented those policies. Now, for my Caucasian, Asian, Latino, Native American brothers and sisters that can glean hope from this, that can see the true meaning in this, I want you to. Being an African American male, I'm focusing on African Americans because our experience is germane to our communities. You have to excuse me. I used to stutter real bad when I was a little boy, and I was able to get over it. But when I get nervous, I still started. So, um, but the positivity, the messages of hope and inspiration in which I am putting out there is public property to all. Venusians, Martians, Earthlings, I don't care. It's germane to all. So I just wanted to put that out because this is my first video. Because I know there are going to be some trollers. Now, my life as an African American man has been hard. As a little boy, when I was in school, I went in the fifth grade. I went to this horrible school. It was horrible. Like, it was a racist school. And so, what they would do was the school buses would come to take the white kids home. So, while the buses were taking their time taking the white kids home, they would line up the black kids out in the hallway, and they would make us stand up, and we couldn't sit down. And so sometimes we would be there until 5 o'clock, waiting on the school bus to come back. And after we would be so tired, and they had hollered at us and screamed at us and just did all these mean things to us. They would tell us to sit down and shut up. You better not say nothing. Shut up. Keep your mouth closed. Shut up. And yes, Metropolitan, that was an elementary school in Metropolitan Nashville, Davidson County schools. I hated that school. My teacher was racist and hateful. Some of the kids are racist and hateful. And there was one where his little follow-up crew, because they wouldn't be as mean, but they would still be mean. So, make a long story short, my mother worked for the governors. She worked in the state capitol. She was also a certified teacher for the state of Tennessee. And so one day, my mother came up there. The school was still open. Seemingly, we would see the janitors leaving sometimes, and we as the little black kids, we'd still be sitting there. It would be dark outside, and we would still be there. So she had a right to come into that school. She was wise. So she slid into the door. I saw her, I didn't say nothing. But she slid into the door, and those 3 white teachers were being so mean to us, telling us to shut up. We were tired, we were hungry, and they did this to us every day. And my mother walked in. Some of the black kids saw her, but they didn't say anything. And she just stood there for a while this white man was up and one of the black children face down on the floor, bent over, giving them the business. Giving them the business. So my mother, being the intelligent woman that she was, and outside of this, did my mother make mistakes? Yeah, she made mistakes, and I hold her to them. But there was a lot of good that she did, and I praise her for that. And this is one of the things. So my mother had already had to check my teacher, a lady by the name of Miss Dickens. And so that could be 50 million Miss Dickens. Because I don't think I've told the school, but whatever, it is my experience. And it is how I would treat it. So if these people are offended or upset because I am sharing my experience of what they did to little black children, little 5th graders in that school, they should not have done it. So grandmama always told me, don't do anything that you don't want no one to repeat. That's what she always told me. So my mother standing there for a while watching this. She was dismayed. And so he finally looked up, and he was turned so red that if I couldn't tell the difference between orange and red, I would think he was Donald Trump. And so my mother told them, what are you doing? Why are you treating these children like this? Who do you think you are that you can treat these children like this? These are somebody's children. She said, how long has this been going on? Why didn't the parents know about this? Especially black parents. Why didn't the black parents know about this? So I can't remember the trash she said because he was irrelevant, and what he said was irrelevant. Because if he wanted to say something relevant, he should have been complaining to the school board of why this was happening to these little black children. But he was a part of this atrocity, the atrocities of insults, the atrocities of tearing little black children down and making us feel less than. But fortunately, I came from a family that didn't subscribe to that. And so my mother said, come on, Eric, I'm taking you home. I'm getting you out of here. And I'm reporting you to the school board. I'm telling them everything you did. And so she did just that. Also, this is the kicker. So they would say to her, well, since you think he's better than everybody else, why don't you take him out of here? My mother retort was, and he is, and yes, he will be coming out of this school. You will not fail him. You will not flunk him. You will not bother him. You will not touch him. You will leave him alone because I'm going to make sure he does his work. So you all won't be giving him anything. He will be earning it. And so when she told me she was transferring, I hated that school. And so the white teachers in question, oh, they would look at me, a little 5th grader, a little 5th grade black child. They would look at me with such hate, disgust, and vitriol. These teachers that were responsible for teaching us reading, writing, arithmetic, not religion, that's what a church is for. School is for teaching things of the nature of reading, writing, arithmetic, civics, teaching about how politics works, not according to whether it's Democrat or Republican, but according to understanding the Senate, understanding the House, understanding what those terms are in which they represent, understanding the governors, understanding your senators, understanding the president, the judiciary, and how, as an individual, you have the right to make your voice heard by speaking and by voting, and not last but least these school boards, because the Nashville Davidson County School Board allowed that to happen. So when I see all these anti-CRT and Mothers for Liberty, where were you then? When all those little black children were waiting for a school bus to take us home for 2 hours until it was dark, where were you then? So I don't mean to go off subject. I'm not trying to make this about politics, but what I am telling you is this is my story. Politics is applicable to my story. I do not require permission to share my story. Because if it wasn't for my mother and my grandmother, I would be a statistic, but I'm not. Actually, I have an undergraduate degree. I have a graduate degree. My family, along with aunts, and cousins and stuff, they taught me a lot. They taught me my history, and they taught me as a part of my history, I don't have to tolerate that. And they taught me the importance of being involved in choosing the people who create policies which will affect me. So at my high school, which I love, they were registering people, and I turned 18 mid-year, so I voted, and I've been voting ever since. Ever since. As a matter of fact, I have stood in line for one particular gentleman 4 times to make sure he got in office. And I would have stood in line 10 times. And I plan to do the same in this upcoming election. Now, but back to the school. And so excuse me. So my mother arranged for me to get rides home from one of my neighbors that lived down the street. Very nice people, very nice people. And of course, my mother took me out of that school. Oh, but I remember the way those particular white teachers would look at me and the hate they would give me to let them know that they hated me. And you know what? I would look back and I would look at them and think, you all are some low down, classless, evil, pitiful folk. To hate one little black boy so much because you thought his parents dressed him too cute. And he would speak up. And his mother and grandmother would come fight for him like warriors, not to let you destroy him. And you know what? I look back in a way to let them know I hated them too. Because I kind of wanted them to know that I hate you too. But you know what? I'm not stuck in your system of oppression. I'm not stuck in your system of abuse. But you know what the worst thing about this situation is that none of those black kids' parents ever came up to that school. None. None of them complained. My mother was the only one. And when she complained for me, she complained for every black child that was sitting there. And that was just one experience at this particular school in 5th grade. And so my mother took me out of that school, horrible school, horrible school. They were racist, so brother. And she sent me to some international schools, junior high for elementary school, sixth grade, and junior high school, Hillsborough. Oops, high school, Hillsborough. Okay, yeah, I'm Hillsborough. So, did I have issues as far as racism, teachers, and counselors at those schools? Yes, I did. But nothing like, nothing, nothing like what I experienced at that school when I was in the fifth grade. Because at that school, you could tell they hated you and didn't want you there. But the school I went to in the sixth grade, junior high, and high school, they were international schools. So those white teachers had to be a little more sensitive. They couldn't do what they did over that fifth grade school. And since they were international schools, it wasn't just black, white. It was kids from all over the world. My high school was 1/3 black, 1/3 other, 1/3 white, but it was still considered a white school. Now, even though I had a few incidences there, I love those schools. Overall, I had a good experience with those schools. Those schools were good schools, and I excelled at that school, at those schools, and I learned a lot. I had many good teachers, black, white, blue, green, orange. I had a lot of good teachers. I did have. There was one teacher in particular, my senior year, that I hated with all my guts, and my mama had to get in her case. So I was used to the hateful vitriol look that she would give me because it was given to me in the second, third, fourth, and fifth grade. So it was nothing new. But and then the guidance counselor, that's another story. But to make a long story short, black people, we have got to start standing up for our children. We have got to fight for our children to know their history. We have got to fight for our children to build their self-esteem. We've got to. My family taught me my history, my black history. They taught it to me from as long as I can remember, so I didn't need public schools to teach it to me, and they didn't. And so that helped me to have a better understanding of who I was so that I didn't fall for the war against this little black boy to put him in a pipeline. So we've got to stand up for our children, fight for our children, because we don't know when will. Now some say, well, maybe you are not talking about white teachers. Excuse me, you're just talking about white teachers, and you're being vitriolic and you're being divisive. This is especially for you. When they did what they did to me and other black kids, they started the vitriol. But the difference was I was a child. And if my mother had not had the fortitude and the intelligence and the education to be able to combat their battle tactics to sabotage me, I would not be sitting here. And so I had a lot of good white teachers. I had a lot of good white teachers. Just like I remember the good teachers, I remember the bad ones. But this particular thinking is to share my experience of what at this elementary school they did to little black kids in metropolitan Nashville, Davidson County. So please comment. This is my first video. I know it's kind of long. As you can see, I like to talk. I like to share. I'll be making many more. Hit me up and let me know what you think. And trust me, your comments will not hurt these feelings, because I want to hear the dissent along with those who agree. I want to hear your support along with those who have issues. All right. Yo, my name is Eric. Yo, please enjoy this video. And let me know what you think. Be honest. because you're not gonna hurt my feelings.